Good evening. I'm honored and delighted to introduce to you Mr. Derrick Boazman. He is a native Atlantan whose career uniquely bridges journalism, civic leadership, and community empowerment. From the south side of Atlanta to the chambers of city governance, Mr. Boazman served as a member of the Atlanta City Council, bringing his voice to the heart of the urban policy and public service. He later became the driving force behind the weekday radio program, Too Much Truth, where he engages scholars, policymakers, business leaders, and everyday citizens in hard-hitting conversations about the issues most deeply affecting Black communities. In his role as president and CEO of Global Leadership Solutions, Mr. Boazman guides higher education institutions, corporations, nonprofits, and community groups through strategic planning and group facilitation designed to elevate leadership and organizational effectiveness. He is also the founder of the annual Let Us Make Man gathering, a statewide mobilization to reclaim Black manhood, raise significant scholarship funds, and invest in the futures of Black families across Georgia. His impact extends globally as well. He was selected as a fellow by the German Marshall Fund to examine democratic process in Europe, and he has served as an international election observer. His insights on race, democracy, and leadership have been featured in major national media outlets, including CNN, ABC, Court TV, and in publications such as the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. Mr. Boazman's work has earned numerous accolades, including Community and Human Service Awards, the Man of the Year honor from the Empire Board of Realtors, and Civic Proclamation of the City of Atlanta, recognizing his long-standing dedication to public life. It is my pleasure to introduce to you a journalist, a community organizer, executive strategist, and a relentless advocate for empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the stage Mr. Derrick Boazman.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, y'all can do better than that. Good evening, everybody. Dr. Wilson, for that kind and generous introduction. I had to look around and I was so surprised. I'm trying to figure out who she's talking about. And to Mr. President, for the opportunity to join you, the staff, faculty, and the students here at Albany State, the unsinkable Albany State, an institution of great consequence. I really came from Atlanta into all the faculty, assistant provosts, and especially to the student. Raise your hand if you're a student here at Albany State. Raise your hand. Y'all must be getting extra credit for being here. Is that what it is? Because the basketball game, Morehouse, is going on. And the president for to sneak out in a few minutes. So I want y'all to, clap loud and hard, because I'm going to give you a strong 15 minutes. Then I'm going to see that other school, Morehouse. I'm a graduate of Morris Brown and went to graduate school at Clark Atlanta University. So that's that other school at Atlanta University Center. But I'm honored to be here at Albany State. My sister-in-law and sister-in-love is an alum here, and one of my colleagues in radio, Dr. Maria Boynton, is if there was ever an alum that loved her alma mater, she's definitely the epitome of that. I just stopped by just for a few minutes to talk about leadership. I stopped by just for a few minutes to encourage you to be the absolute best that you could be. I got some notes, but I'm feeling some kind of way about it. I'm going to try to get through these notes, but I just really want to is it all right if we have a fireside chat? Because one of the things that's in that introduction, if I'm absolutely honest about it, there is nothing in my pedigree. There's nothing in my birthright that suggests that I should have done all those things that you just heard about. I am just Maddie's and Jess's baby boy, one of 6, who came from parents. My mother was a cook and worked at the cafeteria at the GM plant in Lakewood, and when it closed in 1982, she made a decision she was going back to school to take up nursing. And that's exactly what she did. My father was a laborer who kept machines running at the Keebler Cookie Company. That black man, I watched him walk to work. Before he had a car, he would walk to work. And when I talk about walk to work, it was a good 7 or 8 miles. As a young man, I had to iron his uniform because my older brother, Michael, may he rest in peace, was supposed to do it because he was a little bit older. I was 8, 9 years old, not even supposed to be operating an iron. But it fell to me when Mike or Darrell or Byron or Vicky or Yolanda didn't want to do it, that I had to do it. And so I would iron this uniform, and I can still to this day smell the paint from all of the machines that he kept running and the paint that he would paint and patch buildings up. I still remember the smell of the iron. He died at 44. But at 44, by 44, he had lived a life of such substance. It made me understand the value of hard work. And so I start always with the foundation of who I am. Because I tell people I have been blessed with an extraordinary gift from God himself to be able to do some extraordinary things. But I'm just an ordinary individual. And that's my first message to you. You can do extraordinary things if you just open yourself up to the possibility that it is possible. You first have to believe that it's possible. I was lucky to have mentors. And I would say to you, the first thing that you ought do is if you want to do something significant, and I believe that everybody in this room, every single individual in this room was born for a purpose. You've been called for a time such as this. You just thought you came to Albany State because the tuition was pretty decent. They had a good football team. In fact, I heard y'all got a great football team. I heard you're going to be in the playoff this weekend. I'm excited about it, and I just heard I checked in my hotel, and Miss Lomax at the desk asked me, "Where are you going?" She said, "I like your shirt. Where are you going?" I said, "I'm headed over to Albany State University." You would have thought I told her I was headed to the NASA space program to become an astronaut. She got so excited. She said, "I'm a member of what is called the quarterback club. I've been going to games since I was 99, and since 1999. And I'm going this Saturday." And she almost asked, "You want to go with me?" I said, I'm here on Thursday. I'll be gone by then, but as exciting as you make it sound, I might just hang around this place now if y'all give me a discount on this room. But God will open doors that no man could ever close. And every now and then will close some doors that no man can open. And so the first thing about leadership that I learned as just an inquisitive 17-year-old. The point that I would make to you, oftentimes young people talk about passing this proverbial torch from one generation to the next. And I tell young people, you don't deserve a pass-off. You earn it. Lest we pass the torch to people who are not ready, they drop the torch, burn the entire forest down with old and young in it. And so you start preparing yourself for leadership, even when subconsciously you may not know that you're preparing yourself for leadership. 17, I meet a man named Arthur Langford Jr. And I talk about this as a starting point of my leadership legacy because Arthur Langford Jr. was a preacher. He was a community organizer, an activist. I always start with him because I owe him so much. His favorite saying was, "To whom much is given, much is required and expected." And so at West Hunter Street Baptist Church in Atlanta on Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, Arthur Langford, which was Gordon Street formerly, Arthur Langford was the assistant pastor. At 17, he held a teen leadership institute that I happened to go to. Caught the bus to get there. 17. The meeting ends at one probably about like this, with about as many people as in here. It was over, but I was fascinated because he was one, I saw how he looked. He was sharply dressed. Kind of like I am. Don't I look pretty decent? Okay, thank you. Sharply dressed. He had this big beard, he had a mustache that kind of stuck out a little bit. Little mini afro that was perfectly coiffed, and he spoke with authority. And so he was, something about him drew me in to want to know more about what he did. He talked about how he started his leadership journey and the fact that we were in the West Hunter Street Baptist Church, which was the church of Ralph David Abernathy. Ralph Abernathy was a name that I heard because oftentimes I was then absolutely enamored by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who wouldn't be? And I remember listening to Dr. King's speeches where he would often say, "Ralph Abernathy is the best friend that I have in this world." That's Dr. Martin Luther King, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, the global icon, saying, "The man in whom church I'm sitting in the basement of, whose office is right above me, is the best friend Dr. King had in the world, and the guy who I'm now enamored by is assistant pastor there." So I want to say, I was having one of them religious kind of thing. Take me to the King. I want to meet this guy that I've read about. But first, I got to help Arthur Langford Jr. 17 years old. Arthur Langford program ends. About like I do, he had books and all kind of stuff he used to teach. All the other students left. I stayed and asked, "Excuse me, sir, can I help you carry your bags?" What do you think he said to me? Y'all got to talk back to me. I'm got a little Baptist preacher in me. What do you think he said to me? Absolutely, sure. And when I went to help him carry his bag, to put his bag in his small sports BMW, right? Blue BMW 633i. The next thing he asked me, "Do you need a ride home?" And I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Where you live?" I said, "I live in a community called Betmar Village." He said, I was born in Joyland, the very next community over." He says, "Come on, I'll take you home." And in that ride home was a Kairos moment. It was an opportunity for me to get to know this guy who ultimately transformed and changed my life. And so faith comes by hearing. I had the faith to believe that perhaps there was something here that he had that I could get, right? Because we're transactional people. We're always trying to see, what can I get from the person seated next to me, close to me? And so he was very open and transparent. And then as we rode, I learned he was elected to the Atlanta City Council at 23 years old. Learned that he was a graduate of Morris Brown College. His life was so impacted by Dr. King, he wrote a play called Life of a King and was performing it. And so when I got out of the car, I asked him, "How do I stay in touch with you? I need somebody to guide and be a mentor to me." He gave me his number. He said, "I'm now in the state Senate of Georgia, getting ready to run for state senate. He ran for that office and won. He said, but I want you to meet my brother, Michael Langford. And Mike and I became best of friends. But I started with Arthur Langford because of two things. If you listen very carefully, you already see the nexus between his leadership and mine. He was elected to Atlanta City Council at what age? Come on now, come on, this Albany State. I didn't go to that other school across the street. I came to Albany State University at what age? 23. So what I was able to learn from Arthur Langford, what did it take? What kind of service did I have to render in order to be a leader like unto him? He goes to the state senate. I start working in his office before I even entered Morris Brown College, like almost hide that age of 18 between high school and what. He said, come on and work for me at my office. Once again, opportunity. Success is where opportunity meets preparation. He provided the opportunity and I was what? Prepared. I put on my little suit and went on down there and started working in his office. Just honored to carry his bag. Sometimes you got to be willing to be humble enough to just carry the bag. So humility will open a whole lot of doors for you. So I carried this man's bag, but I didn't just carry his bag. I carried his bag into important places. First place I carried his bag is into the governor's office. The governor then was Zell Miller. Anybody down here on the Hope Scholarship? The Zell Miller Scholarship, that's the one that pay all your tuition. You got to be super smart to get it. You on the Zell Miller Scholarship? Okay. Hope Scholarship, that's good enough. Well, Zell Miller created that with our lottery money. I know none of y'all play the lottery, but I do, okay? I do. But Zell Miller loved Arthur Langford. And so I got to go into meetings as an 18, 19, 20-year-old with the governor. All I did was sit there and observe. And Arthur would introduce me. This is my assistant. Man, my little chest popped out so big. I'm just Jesse's and Maddie's baby boy from the south side of Atlanta, but I'm sitting there in the governor's office. And lesson number 2, when you get an opportunity to show up, just like y'all young folk pop out on them like you're supposed to be there. Don't be sitting up there like you're surprised. I remember providing that opportunity for another young person. We went into the governor's office, and he was so enamored, looking at the gilded gold on the wall. We talking to the governor, this young student from Georgia State University, and looking all up in the ceiling. We trying to have a serious, I have to also give a disclaimer. I'm a serial protester. I believe in the human rights of our people. I believe that we should be able to live in peace and tranquility and dignity regardless of who you are, how you love, what you believe. I believe in that. And so if something pops off in Atlanta, you're probably going to see me there fighting for the human rights of all people. But anyway, young man I had to kick his feet, tell him, man, we in here trying to give the governor some, do better medicine. Stop looking at the ceiling, right? But learning the value of being in the room. But I also had learned that everybody sitting at the table ain't a diner. Just because you're in the room don't mean that you're a diner, and just because you get in the room don't mean you should forget who sent you. So Arthur is elected at 23. I started working for him, and then in 1997, I decided I have something to offer because I've been mentored by one of the greats. And so at 29, I decided I was going to run for the Atlanta City Council. And with Arthur's support and his brother's Michael's support, I ran and I won, right? And so that started a whole different, elected politics is a whole different, anybody interested in electoral politics and running for office? Oh, thank you. Make sure you see me. She put her hand up and down. She was thinking about it. For real? Okay, make sure I see you before we leave. Because I said the only thing that I know in this day and age, it may not seem like this sexist thing to do, but the only thing that politics is missing is good people. The only thing is missing is good people. The professor over there laughing, yeah, it's just missing good people. That's it. Hold that point on Arthur Langford because it's going to become very meaningful in just a minute. I ain't going to keep you long. I'm going to run through these 7 points that I have really quick. If you want to be a true transformative leader, whether it is in industry, whether it is academically, wherever you find yourself, you got to absolutely love what you do. So after my political life was over, because I like to run my mouth, any talkers in here, I used to tell people I'm just a PhD. I got a PhD in rhetoric. I mean, I love to talk. I love to debate. I was on the Harvard debate team at Morris Brown, and we went and won wherever we went. If they took me, we were going to win. Because I will debate ad nauseum anybody on anything at any time. Just loved it. Now, not so much. As a 59-year-old, I ain't got time for all y'all with all this talking and rhetoric. Y'all just want, we used to call it back in my day kicking the ballistics. So if you came around the towers at Morris Brown, we up to 4 a.m. kicking the ballistics. We listen to Bob Law and anything that would, help us kind of bathe our brain and be intellectual, because, brothers, we wanted the girls also to be liking us because our intellectual prowess. Not just because we had big muscles, but we figured that girls really like intellectual dudes. And so we always was very much high up in the air with it. And, I tell people that you jump on this ride, we're going to eventually hit an altitude where you're going to fall asleep. You ain't going to be able to follow us. Right? Because we understood what that meant. But love what you do. And I tell people never dread going to work. So I left politics and went into radio. As I was sharing with the president, my time is up. Okay, there we go. I'm getting ready to leave. Give me about 10 more minutes. I'm going to get out of here. And so loving what you do means never dreading. I wouldn't have a job where I hated to go in. Now I do a number of things. I also run a nonprofit that deals with behavioral health. And it is interesting to watch young people now, because some of y'all don't want to go to work. I don't know where that came from. Some of you don't want to go to work. It's the hardest thing. We paying you, and I have to coach up young people to tell them now, the check come every 2 weeks. It ain't going to ever be short. But you have got to work for it. You got to earn it. So every 2 weeks, you got to earn it. And young folk will come, and they will just disappear. And eventually reports get back to me, because it's kind of a big organization. Well, we don't know where he is. I said, what do you mean you don't know where he is? We don't know where they are. So I have to tell young people, look, the motivation is this is not your ending point, but you never knows who's peeking into your future, who's looking for the next person to take their place. People are observing you when you really don't think that they're observing you, right? People are watching you, your work ethic, the quality of your work. But I just say, find something that you love to do. When I found radio, it was instant love. Because every day there's breaking news, there's something happening. And I just had, the other thing I would tell you is, my coming to radio, I didn't go to no broadcasting school. They let me sit down at the radio station after a person wasn't there. I was only going for one day. And because I was going for one day, I said, when I show up, I'm going to give them everything I got. I ain't holding back nothing. And it's going to be rememberable. They're going to remember that I was here. And that's exactly what I did. And as a result of that, when I left, the phone started ringing. When is he coming back? I told them never, because this show required me to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't work up until 11 o'clock for nothing, so I will not be back. Right? I won't be back. Then somebody got fired. They remembered me, right? They remembered me and asked, what would it take? Now, one day, what would it take for you to come and do this full time? Every now and then, ladies and gentlemen, you get to write a number on a piece of paper and slide it across the table. And because I didn't want the job, I slid a ridiculous number across the table. And when them people said, let's do the deal, I said, give me my shout music, because this thing finna turn straight into church about it. I took off. I just took off. I said, first of all, explain to me how. First, then I think about, what did I just sign up for? Explain to me how this works. Now, I just have to be on the radio for 3 hours, and y'all gonna give me health care and a full salary, 3 hours a day, 15 hours a week? They said, yeah, that's all an air shift is. And then you have to go out in the community and do stuff. I was already doing that. Y'all gonna pay me full time for that? I said, okay, when do I what? Start. When I start. I was sold then. Once again, not even prepared for that. But again, God's favor is not necessarily fair, because there were other people who wanted that job much more than I did. And boy, did they let me know they wanted it. You have to be prepared for the slings and arrows. I understood what putting on the whole armor meant after you get something that has been denied by people who want it so bad that they will give their right arm for it, but it wouldn't fit for them. It wasn't their time. Sometimes your blessing will come when you least expect it. You're at a breakthrough moment. All you got to do is keep showing up in excellence. And I tell young people and adults, excellence trump every other consideration. When you just show up excellently, it trumps every other consideration. It trumps whether the budget is short or not. They'll get rid of everybody else and leave you still in place. When you show up with all the excellence that you have, when you show up for the assignment as if you want the assignment, everything else comes off the table. And so I've been there 21 years. And I tell people, Mr. President, listen to me. I tell people, look, be honest with y'all, I would have already fired me. I'd be honest with you, I would have already fired me. I even tell the boss at Rich, I don't even know why y'all have kept me this long, because some of the things I've said, I would have already fired me a long time ago. But don't do that now. Don't do that. Don't do that. I got good lawyers. Love what you do. I love it enough, but I would never say I'm going to do it for free, though. I let them know, y'all cut the check, I'm gone. I don't think I could have handled this last little shutdown to the federal government now. I mean, I'm grateful for everybody who did. But you don't pay me enough money, I'm out of there. I'll see y'all later. I ain't built quite like that. But in reality, when you love what you do, I have never worked a day in radio, because I walk in there and I do what I do because I love it. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about how I came down to Albany State. Okay? Talk about how I came down to Albany State and how y'all received me. And the one person who stuck their head up said they won't be in elected politics and put it down real fast. Have a strong sense of purpose. The greatest thing that you could ever do is find out what your purpose is. Why did God create you? This is one of those introspective, ever-evolving kind of questions that you have to ask yourself, what in the world am I in this space to do? What is my purpose for being here? Why am I here? I believe we all are purposed to do something great in this earth. I just don't believe that accidentally any of us came here. I think we all are purpose for a reason, but you also have to be adaptable. It ain't going to always go the way you want it to. It ain't going to always appear like you want it to appear. You've got to be willing to adjust. And I tell young folks all the time, don't let somebody else determine how you're going to eat. You know, how you going to eat? I can use my own family because they my family. You know, my brother, just a tremendous thinker, a mathematician by training, nuclear physicist and everything, calls me one day at City Hall. I was on City Council. Asked me, did I know a lawyer, right? I said, lawyer? Yeah, I know plenty of lawyers. I wasn't taking the social cues. Then the next call I get from his wife, like, he is really having some tough times at work, right? And he was working at a place where, you know, I had some influence over it because they were required to come through City Hall, but they were not treating him fairly. Now, this is my brother now. The one thing I love is family. So I made some inquiries. I said, now, y'all may need to look into this, right? There may be something to this. And I didn't get no quick answers. And now I'm old school now. I told you I was elected at 29, so I'm old school. I've been around politics all my life, so I know how to apply some pressure. When pressure came, that group came to me and said, now what do we need to do to make the situation better? I said, first of all, y'all could have sat down with me before we went to this process. But now that we're in the process, we're going to take you through silly season. Because that's what politics allows you to do. Politics is about public policy. And so, you know, we had to apply some good policy to make sure that they understand this ain't the way you treat people. You know, you trained folks under him, and they went on and got the job they'd applied for. I mean, trained them, literally trained them. And then they promoted that person and told them, you need to go back and get another kind of degree. Went back to school and got that degree. Same thing happened again. I said, now this don't make no sense. But we were in position to be helpful, and it worked in his favor. And he went on to retire, did great work for the corporation. And I became very good friends with the people. When you apply pressure to them, they become really good friends with you, all right? Key number 4 really is resilience. You know, don't worry about, you're going to have some setbacks. Whatever you go through, you're going to have some setbacks. It's inevitable. Everything is not going to go your way. You know, but you have to look at your failures as something that you learn from. I remember I was not very good at science, but my science professor taught me that there is no such thing as a failed experiment. You either confirm the hypothesis or you can disprove it. And so there's no such thing as failure. It's just a matter of perspective and how you look at it. I don't care how great you are, you're going to run into some failures in your life, in your career. But it is a matter of perspective, and don't let one failure take you out. It just means sometimes God's rejection may be protection. When I thought I had failed miserably at something, another door opened to even a greater opportunity. I just had to be willing to wait. And waiting is difficult because when you wait, you oftentimes think about, you know what, I was prepared for that. I went in there, I thought I aced it. I didn't get the result I wanted. I'm just going to quit and go home and give me my ball back. How many of y'all were the ones who owned the ball? When they got silly with you, give me my ball. I'm going home. Whole game have to stop. Give me my marbles. I'm going home. Everybody mad at you because they know your mama bought you the ball for Christmas. It's your ball, and they really can't tell. They can't take it from you. So you go home. I'm taking my ball and go home. Number 5, continuously learn. When you stop learning, you stop growing. I don't care how good you are and what field you are. When you stop learning, you start to die. Whatever you don't feed will die. I want to be a horticulturalist so bad. I got some beautiful plants at my house. I travel a lot. I had to get a different kind of plant because I came home, everything was dead. And it took my sister Vicky to say, no, it's not dead. It's just dormant. She was trying to cheer me up. I said, well, why don't you take it to your house and make it become undormant, because I'm getting ready to throw the whole thing away. She said, no, just feed it. Get a little fertilizer and put it closer to the window. And true enough, it began to regenerate. And so I just had to learn that it takes continuous learning. Those plants now still sit at my window. And now I know how to properly take care of them because my sister Vicky wouldn't let me just throw them away. And that's how we have to do. Keep learning about what it is. After 21 years in radio, I still listen to the greats in it so I can learn from what they do. Networking, your network is your net worth. If you don't have a network, you don't have a net worth. I got more currency in my Rolodex. Y'all don't even know what a Rolodex is, do you? And your contact list. Your contact list is more valuable to you because somebody going to be curious enough to ask me what my email address is. So let me go give it to you now. db1380@gmail.com. db1380@gmail.com. Now I lecture all over the place and I give my email address out. And guess what I do, Brother Assistant Provost? I go home at night and wait to see who's going to hit me up. Because if you listen to my lecture clearly, I believe in networking. There's somebody in this room right now who got something that you need. Even if it's just your professor who got that extra 5 points that you need to get over the hump. But we ain't giving away. Now, I'm a former college professor. I went back and taught at my alma mater. But I tell them, you get what you earn. But I also let students know, the way I teach, you cannot fail my class if you just show up 100% of the time. Look, the way I lecture, it's not possible to fail my class. It's not possible because I speak too clear. And I had textbooks, but you got to learn from my lecture. If you follow the lecture, you're going to pass. But guess what happened? If you don't show up, you don't get the benefit of the lecture. And you're going to fail. I had a senior who tried it. Right? I was just an adjunct professor, so I wouldn't know no full-time tenure. So I told him, young man, you are on a fast track to failure. I'm just letting you know. You're a senior. Why waste $48,000? You're at Morris Brown College. It's $48,000 worth of tuition. Why waste that? Because I'm not going to give you no grade. I'm going to give you what you deserve. Came down. I said, well, go on and call your parents and let them know. Come on to town and go to your party at Chuck E. Cheese because it won't be now graduation party. That party going to be at Chuck E. Cheese. Y'all better eat some pizza, but graduation won't be happening because this is one of your core classes. You're a political science major. You're not going to pass this class, young man. Ain't nothing I can do for you. And I'm sorry, Mr. President, there's nothing that the provost's going to make me do for you. Because I told you this 4 weeks into the semester. And I'm not tenured, and I got no job. I got no job. If they want to change, they can change, but I'm not changing it. He learned a valuable lesson because they agree with me. And I said, I hate it for you, but they'll let you take it at Atlanta Metropolitan State College and transfer that over here. Last but not least, persistence. Keep pushing forward. Know that you are destined to be great. You know, I often look up and I talk about my grandmama. I'm done. You know, my grandmother Zora, I talk about her a lot. From LaGrange, Georgia, with about a third grade education. didn't finish school. She was of that generation where school was not an option. You know, you all are young, so you don't, it's ancient history to you that was a time when you couldn't go to college. That was a time when you couldn't get admitted even if you were smart enough. I have read the rejection letters of particularly African Americans who tried to get into some of these colleges and was denied the privilege of doing it. Even my grandmother took education very seriously. When I got ready to go to Morris Brown, my grandmama Zora, who she worked cleaning up white folks' homes. They didn't pay her a pension. She got paid a double yolk eggs and a ham during Thanksgiving, Christmas. So she lived off her Social Security check, which was about $400 a month. Lived in public housing. My father and his brothers and sisters undergirded her by giving her money, taking her on vacations, bringing her to our home. She was the absolute happiest woman that I ever met in my life. But when I got ready to go to Morris Brown College, my grandmama Zora said, "Come on in here, baby." I took my acceptance letter over there, and I had many opportunities because I was an athlete. I was a tremendous football player, and I had stacks of letters, but I didn't want to play football. I wanted to go and be a heavy thinker. So I took my Morris Brown College because who went to Morris Brown? Who went to Morris Brown? Arthur Langford did, right? Mentor. And when I showed her my letter that I was going to Morris Brown, she said, "Wait right here." My grandmama, as she did, turned her back to me. And she started reaching down in her Savings and Loan Association. You hear me? Grandmama Zoe, what did she go down in her what? Bosom. She went to the Savings and Loan Association. She started pulling out all of these handkerchiefs. A white one connected to a red one, connected to a blue one. I didn't know whether she was a Crip or Blood. I didn't know which one was. All these handkerchiefs with these different colors coming out of her bosom. And at the end of that handkerchief, she started counting off money. She said, 100, 200, 3, 4, $500. She said, "Now take this over to that school and make some of yourself." Right? I was a pretty good student, so I had a full ride, but I kept that money in my pocket and took it over there, and I said, "Grandmama, I'm going to go over there at that school and make something out of myself and make you proud." And so I am just honored for some of the places that I've been able to stand and lecture and talk all over this world. I'm honored every year. I take hundreds of people to Africa. Just on my DB Africa trip and the various trips that I do. I'm honored that I've talked to Parliament in England and honored to have been on the radio for this long and honored. I take none of that for granted. And I say to you all, you are an extraordinarily beautiful, gifted, brilliant people. And make sure that you take this opportunity from Albany State and go out and change the world. I didn't say go out and change Albany. Go out and change the world. Will y'all do that for me? Last thing I want to say to you is that we have no success without successors. And so I told you about Arthur Langford. I told you when I met him when I was 17. Dr. King became the leader of the Montgomery movement at 26. John Lewis wrote to Dr. King at 17 and said, 16, what I need to do to join the movement. He was in Troy, Alabama, and Dr. King said, just come on up to Atlanta. I got a job for you. And he comes to the SCLC office on Auburn Avenue. Dr. King said, are you the boy from Troy? And that was John Lewis' moniker, the boy from Troy, because that's what Dr. King called him when he first saw him. And he was 16, 17 at the time. So today I have two young men traveling with me. and I want them to stand up. One is Armand Walker, a young brother who I had to get 2 drivers because in case one of them gets sleepy, I had to make sure Armand, young man, been around me for a number of years, make sure I get there. Armand is something else. I got police try to, I live near a concert venue, and Armand, we were trying to get me home one evening, and the police wouldn't let me go to my house. It was 50 feet from my car, and they told me to go all the way around the subdivision and come back in another way. Man, he jumped in front of that police and started screaming, so I said, but please sit down, please, please sit down. Thank you, Armand. The other young man, interested enough, his name, guess what his name is? His name is Arthur Langford. He is the son of Michael Langford. And if you've been in Atlanta, there's an Arthur Langford Parkway. There's an Arthur Langford Recreation Center. There is a Arthur Langford Place. And on Saturday, December 6th, Michael Langford, the best friend I've had in this world, made his transition 4 years ago after battling sarcoidosis. On December 6th, there'll be a Michael Langford Drive that will cross over the Arthur Langford Expressway, because those are the kinds of men in the lives that they live of integrity and honor and civic duty. Thank you all, Albany State, and thank you all for the invitation. I don't know how much time we have. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have, and I'll be around as long as you all will have me afterwards if you want to talk. But any questions that anybody have, I'll be glad to answer if we have time for it, Dr. Wilson. All right? Any questions from anybody?
How you doing? My name is Zamir Cooper. I'm a computer science major. I'm a freshman. And
Yes.
My question is to you is, what gave you the motivation and courage to run at council at that? I think that's a young age. Is 29 a young age to run for that?
Mm-hmm. It is. Me and there was a colleague of mine the same age as I am, right? Happens to be Michael Julian Bond. So guess who his father is? V. Julian Bond. We met each other at 15 years old. He was on city council when I got there. And so 29 was simply because I had an example. I didn't even know the possibility. That's why I said mentorship matters. So with Arthur Langford, I saw how I could run. I was always civically involved. I didn't get a chance to tell you. At 13, I started delivering commodity foods. That was an old lady in my neighborhood who could not walk to the neighborhood center and to get her commodity food. Now, y'all are the generation, y'all don't know nothing about that free cheese they were giving. Best cheese in America. I don't know why the federal government went back to making that cheese. I'll either go broke so that I could qualify for welfare or just buy by the pound, because it was the absolute best cheese ever made, best butter ever made, right? Now the powdered milk y'all can have, but the cheese and the butter, I would buy that from the federal government. I really would, because it's absolute. Somebody clapping like they know what I'm talking about, right? Best cheese. But she couldn't get up there to get it. And so I tied a basket onto the front of my Huffy at 10 years old, and I would ride up there and get it. But I also learned the value of service. And so, when we talk about purpose, to be honest with you, all I ever have done in my life is try to serve others. But as a result of that, I live an amazing life. I go where I want to go. I eat what I want to eat. I work a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I don't work at all, to be honest with you, right? But I get paid pretty decently. And so I have a beautiful life. And I would like to think it is because I have spent a life in service to other people. And that's really what politics is. I tell people there are two kinds of people in politics. There are politicians. Politicians take all they can. Public servants give all they can. If you're going in this business, be a public servant, not a politician. Yeah.
I appreciate you for the knowledge, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am
evening.
Darius Thompson. I'm a Master's of Public Administration student here at Albany State. I first met you at the Rockdale County Jailhouse.
Wow. Yeah,
with
that's
attorney
what-
Molly Davis, who's my
Yes.
mentor.
Yeah.
And attorney Derrick Boazman, my other mentor. My question to you is, with being on the radio, and you know, Dr. Maria Boynton, my other mentor.
Yeah.
You know, we talk a lot, and as a political science major as well, I sometimes find myself having too many questions about the world we live in. And God rest his soul, Dr. Dankwa, who is my professor, had to, you know, remind me sometimes our answers are within the questions we ask. And my question to you is, with being on the radio, how do you because you say you some things you said you could have been fired for a long time ago, you could have fired yourself. How do you center yourself in, you know, knowing what you're saying is not to be malicious or evil or, you know, rude,
Right.
but to be fruitful for those that may not understand where you're coming from?
Yeah. Maturity. You know, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I spake as a child, I perceived as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I'm unapologetically in love with our people. And what that means is to, you know, one of my mentors, who happened to be Mabel Thomas, state representative in Atlanta, she said, those who have suffered the most have the most to give. I did not understand what that meant when she said it to me years ago. When you have been so depressed and oppressed, you really understand the depths through which people are willing to trample upon you. Everything in my DNA has been to make me resilient and to be a fighter and be outspoken for the least, the lost, and left out. I can't help myself. And I'll be honest and transparent, I have been arrested protesting 13 times, okay? I've never been convicted of anything. And if you were in Rockdale County, you were at a protest, right? We were out at the Rockdale County Jail, I believe, perhaps. But I'm not a journalist. And I had to remind the radio station, that was a time when they tried to, put me on suspension, right? Because of some other folks who had suggested that, you know, I was helping a political candidate, you know. But that wasn't the case. What the people couldn't do, they couldn't read a financial disclosure. In politics, you cannot promote candidates or whatever. I had made a political contribution to a candidate who happened to be a very good friend of mine, ran my campaign, and I ran his state senate campaign the year before. And so they were going to use that. Look, he took money from this person. I said, y'all so dumb, you can't even read the disclosure. It said I gave him $1,500, not that he gave me $1,500, okay? I mean, there is a big difference here, right? I gave him $1,500. So I think that part of just being honest, and because I've been elected, I really am careful. And I deal with facts. I don't deal with gossip. You won't hear the Real Housewives on my show. You know, because none of them are real and most of them ain't housewives. And so I don't even talk about that kind of, our people are going to hell in a handbasket, man. Last thing I got to tell about some housewife being picked up at the airport for stealing. And so we deal with substantive issue, but what I have done with the show is really open it up to the community. So if you got a community issue, I allow you to call in to talk about the issue. Because I remember, I'm not going to, we at Albany State, so I ain't going to talk about my student activism days. I'm going to leave that part out. You have to dig and do some research. But I did take over the administration bill for about 4 days and locking the president and everybody else out of the school. I would not advocate that because you got a wonderful president. And if you did that, I'm going to come down here and stand with Dr. Scott saying, arrest all these students, get them out of this building. I'll be right there. These students are wrong. But, and doctor, therefore my political science professor gave me the best advice in the world. And then he later came back and told me, I didn't mean for you to act on it. He said, this college is a laboratory. He said, you should do things here. Push the envelope, because you may not get a chance to do it in the community. Advocate for the things that you believe in. I know your president well enough to know he wants to hear from students. This is an incubator here. When you leave here, brother, let me tell you this. I graduated from Morris Brown College. Y'all know we done been through accreditation loss and everything else, but baby, we are back. The heart of Morris Brown never stopped beating. And I had to tell people Morris Brown was founded in the basement of Big Bethel AME Church. The church has always been the center of this, the only thing we really own. And because it was founded in the church, it wasn't founded in no club. So we were going to lose the faith that it could become all that it is today. So, but yeah, just don't get frustrated. And I tell you also, don't get weary in well-doing, because you will soon win if you faint not. But if you let these people and all of that's going on in this world, brother, look, I get up every morning to give the devil hell. Okay? I wake up in the morning trying to figure out how I'm going to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed. That's the duty of those of us who really love freedom. We should be disturbing the comfortable and comforting the disturbed. And that's what I wake up every morning excited about, because I get a chance. I don't live in this wonderful house and have these wonderful friends and drive this wonderful car because I'm so blessed. I do it because people support me, everyday people, just everyday people. What I have, I didn't get from the stock market because I'm some day trader or something else. I got it because people love, trust me, believe in me, and depend on me to tell the truth. That's why my show is called Too Much Truth with Derrick Boazman. Because I tell them you can't really handle the real truth. So we had to give it to you in bits and pieces. So yeah, man, just don't get weary and realize that Albany State is preparing you not for Albany, for you to go out into the world and do something great. For you to go into where? The world and do something great, okay? Anybody else? I know we were probably out of time, but
hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dominic Thomas. I'm a computer science major. I'm a freshman from Clayton County, Georgia, South Side.
Hey, Clayco.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask, you said you do a lot of good things and you love what you do.
Yes.
But do you feel like it's your true purpose?
Absolutely. Here's the wonderful thing. I know why God created me. Found it out a long time ago. In fact, when I left City Hall, there was confirmation. When I left City Hall, I was young. I was right at 38, 40 years old. I'm 59 in June, I'm 60 in June next year. I said, you know what? I was mad. I was a little bit mad. I lost the election. I ran for president of city council and lost that. I don't tell that part. That wasn't part of the bio. But I lost the race. And I tell this story, really, because Michael Julian Bond, my friend since 15, we were running for president. It was an open seat for president of city council. I said, now, Mike, if you run, I'm going to lose and you're going to lose. Because I ain't been the best friend of the business community, but, you know, I knew the numbers. Now, I'm a numbers man. I said, there's enough for me to win without having any support from north of where I live, right? But if you get in here, we're going to split this vote, and the business community's candidate going to beat both of us, and that's exactly what's happened. When I left City Hall, I was a little bit bitter because I was a little bit less mature than I am now. I said, you know what? I came at 29, and for about 9, 10 years, I have given this city everything I have. I went to funerals, I went to weddings, graduation, bar mitzvahs. I was everywhere. I was Mr. Community, but I also was broke, right? I was broke, but not broken, but I made decisions that allowed me to serve. I ain't got time to tell you that. But instead of buying that $400,000 house, I bought one that's $48,000. That now sits next to one that's $1 million. My cars were all paid for. my brother that I told you about that worked at this big corporation, he said, brother, look, we see what you're doing. You go and serve the community and I'll pay your bills. That brother said not one Christmas, because of the help that I gave him, I came home and there was a brand new Mercedes-Benz sitting in my driveway. I ain't even drive that kind of car. I told him that when one of these lights come on, are you going to be the one to come up here and pick it up and take it back to the Mercedes dealer? Because I can't afford none of these lights. My dashboard looked like a Christmas tree. You gave me the car, but you didn't give me this $1,300 oil change that come with it. So I said, I'm going to just make as much money as I can. I went out and created my first business because I'm my own brand. And so I learned, I'm a trainer by training. I do diversity, equity, inclusion. I do board development training. And I made a ton of money. I'm not going to even lie to y'all. I made a ton of money. Because my prices, I tell people, I'm not, the saying go, I'm not the cheapest around now. And I don't lower my prices. I did it for Albany State, but I ain't going to do it no more for nobody, no other state, okay? Because I love y'all that much. But I made a ton of money. But guess what I found out? I was not happy with that. Because them little old ladies were still calling. We can't get our Herbie to Kirby. You know, nobody returned our call from City Hall. I made a lot of money, but then I had to say, you know, that ain't what I am and who I am. So I found a way to jump right back into service. Took a job doing work in the community. Came off the road and took a job back in the community. Then I get into radio. I thought I was getting into radio just to be the fly jock. I was going to be the Tom Joyner of the thing. But my show is a talk show. So you know how y'all do? Can you help this month? I'm a little short on my bill. And I'm an empath. Let me say this. This is a takeaway to add to these other 7. Takers have no limits. Y'all hear me? Takers have no limits now. And as an empath, I was paying people bills out of my pocket when my light bill was due. Takers have no limit. So my purpose for being here is really to be a voice for people. And that has led me to get into some good trouble. And it has also led me to be honest with you, to be absolutely fearless. I fear nothing but God himself. I don't care. You threaten me all you want to, and I've had that happen. But I know if God be for you, who can be against you and win? And I have stepped over more people who have opposed me. And I'm still standing 6'3". So I simply understand that God gave me a voice, and I'm going to use it until I cannot use it anymore. That's all I ever wanted to do. All right? Did that answer your question?
My name is Jericho Robinson, and my question for you, as a political figure, what books inspired you, or like what philosophy books inspired you in particular?
My number one book is what? The 48 Laws of Power. It is, there's a couple books that I tell you must read. I'm going to tell you about the last one that I'm reading that was inspired by just a lecture last week. But in terms of politics, there are 2 books that were given to me. Sun Tzu's The Art of War. You have got to understand, as a strategist, you got to understand, I need to understand how you think. And so I teach 48 Laws of Power to teenagers now. But Sun Tzu's The Art of War, you make a noise in the east and you do what? Strike in the west. I've got to understand warfare because every relationship that we have, I don't care whether it is a romantic relationship or whatever, it is power. At the seat of every relationship is power, right? And that don't mean I'm trying to dominate people. I simply need to understand what your enlightened self-interest is. Because I ain't got to always win. And if you're in a real relationship, you better not win everyone. If you win every fight, you finna lose for real. Because she just, let me stop. At the appropriate time, you're going to lose it all, brother. If you win in every fight, something wrong. All right? And so I did, for the Sun Tzu's Art of War, the 48 Laws of Power, I always tell people, never read that book from the standpoint of what you can do to somebody else. You need to see when these kind of spirits and energies come towards you. Law number one is never outshine the master. And people say, oh, no, what do you mean by that? When you come up in here, if I have given the speech of my life and I'm an elder, don't come up here and try to outdo me. When the president speaks, then everybody else sit down. He gets the final word. I ain't got to go. I was student government president at Morris Brown, right? And I was known for giving powerful speeches. I had to learn fast. Man, them people hated me. You know, because whoever got up in front of me or behind me, I'm going to make your job real hard. Because I'm going to come with everything I got, every quote, whether it was Jesse Jackson one week, Dr. King, Malcolm X, I'm coming with something that was going to be fiery rhetoric. And, you know, the elders hated me. They just did. And so I had to learn sometimes humility. Humble yourself. Get in the door. But that's one. Those two books are probably, and then there's another book that I just started reading, and it probably is emblematic of where I am in my life. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a, y'all know that F word, the F-bomb word, okay, that one. That's a new book. And you just have to learn that you don't have to try to please everybody. And everybody ain't going to be pleased with you. I don't care. Look, if they didn't like Jesus, they ain't going to like you either, okay? So don't worry yourself to death trying to make everybody understand you, because I will tell you, God did not give the assignment to everybody. He gave it to you. So be prepared to be misunderstood, but keep moving. Don't stop moving, all right? Thank you, Albany State. God bless you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
So first of all, I just want to thank you for amazing. And we have these presidential lecture series, and they're designed intentionally to talk to our students about how to get ready for the future. But every time I sit in one, and specifically today, I think these series are designed for everyone. I'm taking notes and I'm thinking, wow, he is speaking directly to me, because you never stop learning. You never stop picking up nuggets of, oh, you know, that's something that I can grab onto. There's something you said around deal with the substantive issues. Sometimes we get way distracted by other stuff. So what I'd like to offer up to students, first give Mr. Boazman another round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for spending the time with us. If you have time, absolutely come walk across the street with me to the game.
I will.
Yeah, walk across the street with me. And to the young people who are able to come, thank you. And hopefully you got, not hopefully, I don't do it in hopes. I'm sure you got something out of this. Capture the notes. The email is here. So I may be the first one to email you.
Yes, sir.
Right? Yep. I may be the first one, because my wife is a big fan. We are longtime listeners of your show from the Atlanta area, and this is what he shared with Albany State tonight is what he shares on the airwaves in Atlanta all the time. So I really appreciate you, and again, thank you for joining us.
No, thank you. I'm honored.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. Okay.